Good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about morning routines and four foundations four virtues that can actually help you out in your daily life here on Rise and Grind. All right, so let's get today started for Rise and Grind. What are we going to talk about today? Today's episode, we'll be discussing morning routines for success and the virtues that can assist you in achieving your goals. By establishing consistent morning routines, we can set ourselves up for productivity and a successful day. Additionally, practicing virtues such as discipline, perseverance, and gratitude can help us overcome obstacles and stay focused on our objectives. But overall, incorporating these practices in our daily lives can lead to a greater success and fulfillment. However, I do take and look at the Stoic four virtues that really help out, and those are wisdom, self control, justice, and courage. Four distinctive virtues that can help you out and become a better person. So, we're producing live on YouTube as well as Clapper. So thank you very much to all my Clapper fans and supporters. I appreciate your daily input. So, yeah, definitely want to say thank you so much. Let's see let me see if I can invite a few people in here. That's right. I have a few friends on Clapper, definitely. Oh, yeah, I wanna send one to Rocksteady, wanna send let's see, Janice, everyone. Oh, the lounge, I don't really care. That's right. All right, now that we've done that, invited a few people, we're ready to go. So today's Daily Stoic, the question is, what are the few real goods, right? And it comes from Marcus Aurelius. The question was prompted in the Daily Stoic Journal, and Ryan Holiday, the author of the Daily Stoic, the book that I kind of look at daily, I journal, I make sure that things are going for myself. Really comes in handy. And Ryan quotes Marcus Aurelius from his meditations, and he says from 5.12, so you can look and see where this is at. He says, here's a way to think about what the masses regard as being good or good things. If you would first start by setting your mind upon things that are unquestionably good, wisdom, self control, justice, and courage, with the preconception that you'll no longer be able to listen to the popular refrain that there are too many good things to experience in a lifetime. Now, I think that's very, very important to mention. Now, that's on his page 122 of his Daily Stoic. But he goes on to explain, he says, it is so controversial to say that there are things that people value and pressure to have value as well. And there are things that are actually good or question whether wealth and fame are all cracked up to what they're supposed to be. But as Seneca observed in one of his plays, he says, if only the hearts of the wealthy were open to all, how great the fears high fortune stirs up within them. I think that's very important to talk about, especially this morning. But Ryan goes on to explain, he says, for centuries, people have assumed that wealth would be a wonderful cure all to their unhappiness or problems. Why else would you have worked so hard for it? But when people actually acquire money and status they've craved and discovered, it wasn't quite what they had hoped. The same is true for so many things we covet without really thinking about it. On the other hand, the good that the Stoics advocate a simpler, more straightforward wisdom, self control, justice, and courage. No one achieves these quiet virtues experiences by buyer's remorse. Now, I think that's very, very important, especially nowadays. People are always racing for the buck. one of the things I can definitely tell you here in America, it's predicted that anyone under the age of 35 will never be able to own their own home. But these come from self beliefs, diagnosis that they don't even know. People, the news, casual conversations teach you things that aren't actually aligning with who you are. But how do we really align with what the Stoics deemed as the four important virtues, which is wisdom? How do you develop wisdom? That's through experience. That's the willingness to study, practice, put something into play that you can actually do. The second part is self control. That means all the experiences and everything that you learned has now been put in an arsenal for you to choose about how you act, not anybody else. But see, there's the catch. We tend to feel the way that we act, others should, right? So I think that it's something to really look at and take in consideration. How do we act amongst each other when we're upset, when we're excited, when we celebrate, when we're not feeling the greatest? What are you doing to keep that in check? So to speak, the poker face, right? Many people do not understand what a poker face really is. When you're upset, do you need to show it to others, but yet still be a human and being compassionate? That's very important. But if you have self-control, guess what? You're not easily leveraged. You're not taken advantage of, and you control the outcomes in which you act and not everyone else. People may observe you about however you want to be, right? They can tell you, well, that guy's cool or that guy's calm. But how did he develop that? It wasn't because they were born with it. It was because they learned. And in their human experience, they learned enough to practice through enough trials and tribulation that maybe being in control serves them much more than you realize, right? So that's very important. So the next part, the justice. Now, people may argue justice a lot. And considering that I work in a legal profession and I constantly work with problems, legal problems, people say, well, how do I resolve this, Jay? I don't know the process to figure it all out. Well, legalities are always negotiable. Believe it or not, laws constantly change, policies, politics, you name it, they change all the time according to the needs in which people act and where they're at with where they act, right? Like, is it really fair that when you're going homeless or you're poor and that somebody else is living in a mansion, is that their fault? No. Is it your fault? Perhaps. But however, when we look at opportunities, just like I was talking to a colleague and friend, and they were telling me literally, you know what, Jason, I had so much trouble. I had so many things going on, and I just can't seem to get a break. I said, okay, please do tell. Tell me about why do you feel that you don't feel like you have a good break in life, right? Let's talk about why you feel the powers that be, someone who's doing better, is really impoverishing you. And the reality was, the more that they talked, it wasn't about the other person. My brother said to me a comment that, especially when we compare our wages or when we talk about what we earn in comparison to somebody else, he says, never count on somebody else's pocketbook. Don't count on what goes in their pocketbook. Worry about your own. So that means that comes to the power of negotiation. So when it comes to justice, we can assume all we want, but look at what the actual value that you've negotiated, no matter what it is, right? I've met plenty of guys who will say, I can't meet a girl out there. There's no legit girls. They're always out for the money. Well, what programmed them to be this way? And what value do you believe in yourself before comparing to what they say, right? So when some of my friends talk about this, and I just tell them, like, look, you need to put the game in your hands, not in theirs, right? Well, how do you do that? It's very simple. Have some level of dignity, a little level of integrity, live with some honesty, right? That's all. It's very simple. You don't have to be the strongest guy to get the most beautiful person who will ever be in your life. You don't have to be the smartest and you don't have to be the wealthiest, but those things do matter to some point, right? So when we look at the justice of life, when we look at what we're actually owed or what's due to us, I want you to carefully think about a couple of things. Did you put your absolute best? Did you keep your word? Did you not make assumptions? And you know what? Did you not like there's this other agreement I keep forgetting because it comes from the four agreements. Do your best, be impeccable with your word. That's the thing. Be impeccable with your word and don't make assumptions. When you understand what these things mean to you, then you have a level of integrity. You have a level of confidence. You build that stuff up, right? When you build up your integrity and you build up your confidence, no one can mess with you. However, when I was telling my friend, I said, hey, either you're going to be stuck in your feelings because it was a bad morning, bad day, or you're going to be you're going to screw your opportunity. So make a choice. Screw your feelings or screw your opportunities. That's a lot of us. But see, in the four virtues, you also have courage, right? Courage is very, very important. When we have courage in things, that means that we're daring to be different. We're daring not to get stuck in things that don't belong to us. One of the things that I used to worry was like I didn't take enough time to evaluate how I'm going to act or what I'm going to put myself into. I was more focused on how just to be a worker and not a leader of my own in my own industry. When I started thinking about how do I lead in my life is what I'm going to believe, right? That's very difficult to think about that. What if I told you what you believe in can be changed at any given time? That's right, any given time. It takes a mode of circumstances and actions. That's right, the circumstances. You control what comes out of your mouth and you control what processes here. And there's that whole I talked about this last week. You either have a perceptional value or an observational value. The observational value is just seeing things as they are. The perceptional value, though, this is really key. The perceptional value really tells you that what things are supposed to mean or what your opinion is about something, what do experience or non-experience. A lot of people talk from places they don't need to be in. Like, for example, when I'm on Clubhouse, it never fails. I always see some level of influencer who always says, I can lead you to millions. But when asked the question, do you have millions? Then the foundation in which the person is talking. When the person is talking and trying to sell you a program, guess what happens? Can you show me your bank receipts? Can you show me that you have more than $1 million? Because it takes more than 1 million to be a millionaire, right? Or a billionaire. It's not always so easy that we can just pass people, but people are willing to pass fraudulent actions, programs to get you to become successful. It takes real courage to really understand it's work, it's strategy, it's trust, and willingness. Those are the things that truly get you to become successful, right? Those are the things that will make a difference in your daily life for when you look at your loved ones, or maybe you want to attract the right kind of partner. You know, a lot of times people out there, especially singles, they get stuck on a few things. The evaluation of trust and truth, right? It's something to think about. So what I want to encourage you is when you think about what is truly good, what are the few real good things in life, look about what you actually already have before you have to buy or commit. And what are you not doing for something that you strongly and deserve in your life, right? Think about what that means. So let's just say if you wanted to become a doctor, right? Or a lawyer or an accountant, and you got through your bachelor's, but then you still have the next, pinnacle mountain, which may be law school, med school, or graduate program, an MBA, right? You have those things that need to be accomplished. You assume how hard it's going to be before actually getting there. And why is that? Because people will tell you, those studies are not so easy and they are not cheap. But if they were cheap and if they were easy, would anyone want to do it? Mm, I don't know. So and then it comes to, you really got to think about your self-control, going back to that virtue and wisdom. When you actually look at wisdom and you look at the way that you act with things, right? You know, if I take my time, if I work to become a better student, a better studier, I'm practicing at reading every day, right? If you practice these things, then getting to that mountain that you've assumed is so hard won't be so bad, right? So, what I want to encourage you all to think about is truly what is really good in your life, not what's good ahead, right? There's nothing wrong with having goals, but there's nothing wrong with being satisfied with certain things. Self-confidence and dignity come and integrity comes from the belief. It comes from the internal trust. Nobody can take that away from you. Only you can. So, with that being said, I'm making this episode really short. You can check it out on YouTube. You can go look up my handle, 72 the Architect, all one word. And you can look at my show, Rise and Grind, with 72 the Architect. And today's about morning routine. So let's get back into, before we end the show, that's right, about the morning routines. What are things that I do in my morning routine? Number one, I do not touch the cell phone. That's right. I don't want to scroll. I don't want to check emails. Do not look at what's going on with your cell phone, because to me, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I look out that window. It's all dark. That means it's a time where everyone else is quiet. People are still asleep, but this is my time, uninterrupted. What could I do with 2 to 3 hours of that time for myself before anybody else? That's a big key, right? So that's an investment in me, because once you get your workday started, everything will draw to take away your attention. There are so many things that will be disturbed about how you act and what you haven't done or what you need to do to fulfill their pockets of gold. So investing in yourself in the morning, having that morning routine is going to be a big difference. So don't get into your phone. Number two, your nutrition, right? So nutrition is a very big part of the day. Do you really need a cup of coffee in the morning? And it just so happens that I have one of the things that really helps me out. So if you're watching YouTube, let me actually bring up, let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. One of the things that I do, so if you look on YouTube and you look at my Mudwater link, it has a code right there. You know, it's, what is it? HTTP semicolon slash slash fbuy.me slash v slash Jason underscore 28357. So for my clapper viewers, you can also check that out. Well, what do I do? Instead of coffee that dehydrates me and I feel tired after an hour, I have mud water. What is mud water? Mud water is a combination of mushrooms and minerals that's better than a coffee substitute. And this stuff has maybe 10 milligrams of sodium. It has 1 gram of protein, 110 milligrams of potassium. And the beautiful part, sugars, zero sugars in this stuff, right? So, but let me tell you about the few ingredients that it has. And this is a part of my morning routine. It has marsala chai, black tea, ginger, cardamom, cloves, nutmeg, and black pepper. These are really essential ingredients that will help. Then it has cacao, lion's mane, cordyceps, changa, reishi, cinnamon, turmeric, and Himalayan salt. So I take a spoonful of this, I put it in my cup here. And when you order mud water, you get this nice little frother, you mix it up, boom, 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 drink it. And you know what? I don't have the coffee drag. I'm on to the next thing. And I look at maybe sometimes 2 hard-boiled eggs, or maybe I look at something that's nutrition if I'm hungry. But there are times I'm not hungry at all. I just want to drink my mud water, go about the day. And the next part of the morning routine, go outside if you can. If you have an environment where you can go for a morning walk, don't take your phone, don't listen to nothing, just go for a mile walk. See how the mind stimulates, right? Think about, what's really going to come into play, like releasing maybe some of the stress from the previous week or day is going to be there. And so by going on morning walks, it releases your energy out into the air. And you know what? You feel better. So that's very, very important. So number two about my morning routine, I make sure that I read. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So what am I reading? I practice this every single day. I've done it for 2 years, and even if I repeat it and I know the page, highlighted, wrote notes, I do that. And then the next big part of all this, I write in my journal, my morning journal. And it's very important to have that set up for yourself. So, you know, without revealing what I write, I make sure that I set up the question, right? I write the daily Stoic question, and then I write the quote out. So I make sure that I've read it, observed it. And then after I write the question and the quote, the next big part about all of this is that I write 3-sentence paragraph, 3 to 4 sentences. That's it. That's all you got to write, as in a reflection to the question and the quote. Then after that, I leave, and it's like, okay, I look at what I've got to prepare, take a shower, whatever, get yourself set up in the day, make yourself look good, no matter where it is, even if you're just staying home, take that time for that hygiene, comb your hair, brush your teeth, look at yourself in the mirror. It's very essential that you pay attention to your presence in morning routines. Then sometimes after I'm done with all that, I'll come back and I'll read some more. So out of the Daily Stoic, I read 1 page. But right now, I happen to be reading Robin Sharma's The Everyday Hero Manifesto. So when I read this, I'm concentrating to read 10 to 15 pages. And what do I use? How do I highlight things? I have a highlighter, and more than likely, right now I have my pen put away, but I'll have a a pen to write notes down, and I have a notepad. So it's very essential that when you're making, your morning routine, you're reflective, you're thinking about something process. You could be learning about banking, you could be learning another language. That's another thing. In some of my morning routines, I turn on my Rosetta Stone and I start learning Spanish and I start learning Arabic. Why do I want to learn those languages? Because there are people that I come across who speak Spanish. I'm not a fluent Spanish speaker, but that's okay, you know. And I also want to learn Arabic, a language that's also responsible for formulating Spanish. But I have a lot of Arabic friends, and I love their culture. I love learning about where they come from and how they are. So that's it. And then after all that's done, I got my exercise in, got my walk in. I then look at the agenda for the day. Make 4 goals, 4 essential goals that you want out of the day, and they're achievable at the end of the day. So that's pretty much that I can tell you. So if you're looking for a morning routine, you want to get better at what you do, you know, you want, things to improve. Well, it's going to take some work. But through that work and through that practice, guess what? Life will get better, but you got to be intentional about it. You got to want it to get better for you. You've got to make sure that what you're going after is absolutely undeniable, what you truly want, and will make your life better. Once you do that, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Life does get better. Incrementally, it does. James Clear talks about it in his Atomic Habits. Doing something, a practice every single day, little by little, makes huge dividend impacts. It makes huge results because you put in the practice. Well, that's all the time that I have for Rise and Grind this morning. I hope that you've found some fulfillment. If you're subscribing and liking to my YouTube, I appreciate you. Anyhow, I've got to get going for the day. I've got to get to work, got to get out of these gym clothes, make myself look right. Thank you for joining me this morning. We'll see y'all next time. Y'all take care.